The exact nature of my wrongs. Okay, selfish. Yeah, I got to check that one. I'm very selfish there, man. Dishonest, right? Hey, we did inventory and we're missing this merchandise. You know anything about it? Either I don't say anything or I say, no, I don't. Oh, you bet I'm dishonest, man. Self-seeking. What I want matters more than what you want. My needs matter more than yours. Hey, oh yeah, baby. Yep. Frightened. Yeah, I'm terrified they're going to catch me, right? Self-seeking and frightened, they got on the same one. Inconsiderate, that I fail to consider how they felt, their wants, their needs. Small company, they're trying to grow, and they got some son of a bitch punk that's stealing their merchandise. Yeah, very inconsiderate, absolutely. So that's an example of one that is not sexual, obviously. Now, the company is no longer there in its form and the owners are gone, so I'll talk about how I made amends later. I did it by giving money to people in need and to charities is what I did. And I gave much more than I stole to people that needed help. So let's go to a sexual one. Here I am pretty much through the late 90s, doing my cocaine, drinking my booze, and there's this woman named Karen, and I used her for sex. So who did I harm? Karen. How did I harm her? Used her for sex, right? Just a few words. Used for sex, 3 words. So, here it is, 2 in the morning, and who do I call? Nothing better came along, so I called Karen, right? Hey, can I come over? I got some cocaine. I got some booze. Can I come over? Sure, come on over. So Karen used her for sex. So how does that, what part of self does that affect? Well, my self-esteem, what I think of myself, high or low? Well, I'll be honest. I did not find her attractive, but she always said yes. So this one affected my self-esteem both positively and negatively. Right? I guess maybe there was once or twice where she got fed up with me and said, screw you. But it affected positive and negatively. Personal relationships, relations with other people in the world around us. Well, I was hiding this whole deal just like I was hiding that theft. So I was very evasive, and that did affect my personal relationships. So, there it is. So it affected my personal relationships with people, right, other than her. You bet it did. Security instincts, material, maybe not. Emotional, maybe not. Based on her need for another person or persons, it might, because again, I was hiding it. It was something I couldn't talk with other people about. Sex instinct, your natural tendencies regarding sex. Acceptable sex relations. Well, yeah, those were affected because this was actually hidden sex relations, right? But it was accepting my acceptable, because when another person came along and I got involved with them, I certainly didn't tell them about Karen or tell her about Karen, right? So it kind of affected both of those. Ambitions, your plans or desires. Social ambitions. Plans to gain acceptance, power, recognition, prestige. She wanted more out of this relationship, obviously, than me showing up for an hour twice a week in the middle of the night, right? So she would bust in on my place of business and where I drank. So kind of affected my social ambitions. Security ambitions, your plans to gain material wealth. Well, she did bust in on where I worked, and that made me very uncomfortable. Sexual ambitions. I had Karen in my back pocket, so perhaps I was not working on a relationship that might have been able to go somewhere. So it affected a lot of my ambitions, right? So here, again, what's the exact nature of John's wrongs? What did John do here? Selfish, strictly material in this case, property, money, housing, maybe not. Dishonest, yeah, I was very dishonest with her. I told her whatever she wanted to hear. Self-seeking, what I matter is more than what you want. Oh yeah, I was self-seeking. Frightened, I was frightened that maybe she would say no. She did a couple of times. Or frightened that maybe she would come into my other life. So there was a lot of fear involved with this. Inconsiderate, did I fail to consider how she felt, her wants, her needs, her beliefs, and how I affected them? That didn't even cross my mind. Absolutely inconsiderate. Absolutely. So the exact nature of my wrongs and this harm that I did, right? And I mean, I'm not going to go in, but there were other ones. I mean, there was another girl. I'm going way back for Tammy. I'm going back to when I was in high school, and I took her to a state fair on 30 miles away, and I abandoned her. I took her to a McDonald's and called a cab, but I left to go party with my friends. So I left her there. That was one because I had to go way back the first time I did it and go back to everything. And that one was on there. That girl might have been the love of my life, but it was more important for me to go out drinking with my friends than to stay with her. The cab never came. She got stuck there and had to call her dad. And her dad wanted to kill me. That was another one. Other people, I mean, there's been so many women from my past that, like, Grace, for, all of a sudden I find out that she wasn't looked upon well by other people, and, I did the social instinct and my self-esteem, so I dumped her with no explanation. I mean, the list goes on and on and on and on. So let's do, I did another one with the company. Co-workers, right? I'm a commission salesman. Remember, my coworkers were on my resentment list because they would steal my commissions, right? Thinking that. They're on my fear list. I'm afraid to take a day off because I know they're going to put the knife in my back. Well, what did John do, man? Well, John took their deals. So my coworkers, I stole their commissions, right? How does that affect your self-esteem? Negatively. Yeah. Hey, man, but of course I was so good at self-justification. I needed that money, man, because I don't want to start going through withdrawal. And again, I talked about it. Once I got my hands on a commission, even just a little bit, somebody else's deal, I thought that I deserved it, and I had great fear that I would lose that deal. Even if I just talked to a guy, I mean, it was I was insane. And I could not give that up. It was just like my booze. Once I got a little taste of it, I had to get it all. I felt I needed it. And I had fear that if I didn't get it, not only would I not have the money that I needed, but also I wouldn't be at the top of the salesman list, and that might even been worse for me. So I had tremendous fear of losing a deal that wasn't mine. I mean, we're crazy, man. That's why I got to get this crap out of my head, or I'm going to drink again. Because I know the difference between right or wrong. I do. And when I'm thinking about all these things that I've done, the only way I can shut it off is to drink. So, I mean, that's just crazy. Okay, I think you guys get the idea. Who did we harm? What did we do? You see, I got 3 words, 1 word, 3 words, 1 word. We don't need to do a whole lot. But then we go across and we see what part of self is affected. And then the important part, the exact nature of my wrongs. And again, that's true it's the same list. I'm resentful at. Why do I have the resentment? Boom, my wrongs. I am afraid of. Why do I have the fear? Affects what part of self? My wrongs. Who did I harm? What did I do? Affects what part of self? My wrongs. It says in the book, putting aside what everybody else did, we got to look at this, because this is what's going to keep those damn resentments and fears and hurts and harms from coming back and killing us, is looking at ourselves properly for the first time in our lives, for heaven's sakes. All right, so I'm just going to do a quick review, overall review of the 4-step, and then I'm going to cover those summaries that I was taught to do. So again, the 4-step, right? The book tells us, when do we do it? We do it right after step 3. It says if we don't do it, we're probably going to drink again. Now, our 4-step is not a list of dirty, rotten, filthy things we've done, right? If that was the case, it would say made an immoral or amoral inventory. It doesn't. It says moral inventory. All that means is the truth. So we're going to look at our flawed thinking processes, which are ruled by fear, our flawed thinking processes, which leads to our flawed behavior. And Bill compared it to business. And in business, you discover the truth about the stock and trade. A business which takes no inventory usually goes broke. For us, going broke is simply going back to drinking or using drugs or gambling or whatever our gig is, right? And we're the only stock and trade we have in this business is staying sober, so we've got to do this. And again, people can't make us drink, right? We decide if we're going to drink or not. And, you know, we might say, hey, you know, that guy sure makes me thirsty, but we're the ones that decide. And for us, again, to go broke is to go back to drinking. I said this 2 weeks ago. My head's a quick trip. I got a file cabinet that's full of resentments. Damn him, damn her, those sons of bitches can't do that to me. When that's going through my head around the clock, God can't get through. Display case full of fears. Oh my God, I'm going to get fired. Oh my God, the banker's going to come. Oh my God, she's going to leave me. Oh my God. God can't get through that stuff either, man. And then we got the storage closet. Guilt, shame, and remorse. I'm the worst son, the worst husband, the worst wife, the worst parent. Fill in the blank. So we got to get rid of these. We got to empty them out. Some people say it's like scrubbing out a garbage can. We do that, and then all of a sudden the sunlight of the Spirit can come in, right? Because we cannot self can't overcome self. So we looked at the wrongs, right? And you know, we're just sick people. We're not horrible, awful people. We're sick, man. We're sick, and we can get better. So what are the wrongs? Incorrect judgment of others. That's what a resentment is. My judgment was always right. Always, right? I'm incorrectly judging other people. Incorrect perception of situations. That's what caused me fear. Caused me a lot of fear. Fear of I'm not going to get what I want, or I'm going to lose something I got. Oh my God, if I lose that deal, I'm going to die, right? The hurts and harms we do others, incorrect treatment of other people, right? And that we treat other people badly because of our flawed thinking processes that are really led on by our fears, right? Our fears. I mean, it's a lot easier for me to go to a friend and say, you know what that dirty son of a bitch did, rather than go to him and say, gosh, you know, I'm really afraid that this is going to happen, right? So I mask it with anger. So again, what is resentment means to re-feel. You know, again, the boss yells at me and that's a wrong, and I can feel upset about that. But when I go into the room by myself an hour later and I relive that, and I go home and I relive it again, then I'm doing it to myself, right? And that stuff blocks me off from doing anything worthwhile. It blocks me off from God. And whenever these resentments, I've discovered that I'm not entirely honest with myself. So every time I replay a resentment in my head, what the person did to me gets a little bit worse, right? What I did to get the ball rolling is a little bit less, and the harm that person caused me gets a little bit deeper. And when I play it over and over again in my head, I was standing there doing nothing when those sons of bitches came and gave it to me. I'm a victim. I'm a victim here, right? So we got to get them on paper. We got to get them on paper because we can only see one at a time. I can't tell you. I had over 100 resentments, over 100 fears, and you know, the harms list seemed to go on forever, right? I'm not thinking about step 8 or 9. I'm just getting this stuff on paper. We can only see one at a time. We got to look at them from a new angle, these resentments. We do not look at what the people did to us. We look at what the resentment is doing to me, right? The resentment is killing me, man. It's keeping me separated from God. It's keeping me separated from my fellows. And it's keeping me separated from myself, and I'm getting closer to taking that drink, right? The resentment's killing me. Now, then, of course, I look, you know, what did I do to get the ball rolling, and what was the nature of my wrongs involved in this, right? I saw where my anger comes from when I do this. My anger comes from people threatening one of my basic instincts of life. Right? If somebody's going to threaten my social instinct, my face, I don't want to be losing face. Somebody threatens that, I'm going to get pissed off. Somebody threatens my paycheck or my money, oh man, I'm going to get pissed off. Somebody's going to interfere with my girlfriend or mistress or whatever, you better not, I'm going to be pissed, right? So it's threats to these basic instincts that get me angry, afraid, and cause me to lash out. Now, when we get these on paper, 95% of them, we're going to see how stupid they are. When you do the 4-step this way, 95% of them disappear automatically. Like, my God, this is ridiculous. I'm the one that caused this whole thing, right? So we stay sober, we look at it, and 95% disappear. 5% are so deeply ingrained, maybe I need some help from my sponsor. Maybe I need some professional help. But I'll tell you what, the ultimate weapon is prayer. When I pray for these people over and over again, that they get everything in their life that I want in mine. They got the prayers, remember in page whatever, 551 I think it was. Eventually it's going to go away. Maybe they say 2 weeks, but it might be a month. We find out that, hey, what about justified resentments? I didn't do anything to this person, and look what they did to me. Well, justified resentments are going to kill us just as quickly as unjustified resentments. All of our fears are caused by one of the following. I'm not going to get something I really want. I'm going to lose something I've already got, right? Oh my God, if I lose that house, I lose that car. If I lose that girlfriend, oh my God, it's going to be the end of me. Or I've done something to another human being I shouldn't have done, and I'm afraid that they're going to catch me. Then everybody's going to see what kind of person I am, and whatever I lied or connived to get something, I'm going to lose it anyway, right? And again, it's easy to spot an alcoholic running on self-will rather than God's will. Madder than hell all the time, and always scared to death. And I got to tell you guys, when I think about the end, when I was running the course to the end and thinking about suicide as the only way out, you're at that point. You can't depend on God. You can't depend on other people. We're an alcoholic reaching the end of the road. We can't depend on ourselves. Absolutely scared to death because our stuff doesn't even work anymore. So we got to get them on paper. We can only see one at a time. We're going to see the fears. We're going to see how many fears we have, and we're going to see how these fears control and dominate us. And once they're gone, we're going to see how they were blocking us off from God. I'm going to go back to page 67 again, just real quick, is the big thing, referring to our list again, putting out of our minds the wrongs others had done, we resolutely looked for our own mistakes. Where had we been selfish, dishonest, self-seeking, and frightened? That's where we're going to learn, and that's what's going to keep these doggone things from coming back. Now, this is what happened to me by doing the 4-step, according to the book, which is what we're doing here. I saw how many resentments and fears I had, and I saw the harms that I did other people as a result of this. I saw how they blocked me from God. I saw that it wasn't the people I resented, but rather what they did to me, right? Any person that did the same thing, I would resent them. Then I saw that it's not even what they did to me, but it's how I react to a threat against one of my basic instincts. So somebody can do something to me on a day, go back to my boss yelling at me. Right? If my instincts are not under control and I don't have a good relationship with my higher power on that day and he yells at me, I am going to be madder than hell all day. But if my instincts are under control, I've got a good relationship with my higher power, keeping in contact, helping other folks, he can do that, and instead I'm going to say, man, I bet he got a call from the home office and they just gave it to him. That's why he's upset and it rolls off my back. Right? But again, the next day he can do it. If I'm not in check, I'm going to go off the deep end. We see that resentments and fears are a waste of time. They paralyze us from doing anything worthwhile. Remember, the fears, they block us from our talents. Never did us any good, never straightened out any relationships, never made us any money. Resentments don't make us feel better, only worse. Fears, they block us from God. We don't feel good. We become insane. And we start to thinking about taking a drink, because that's the only way we know to get some ease and comfort. We end up drunk all over again. Resentment is a gun that shoots backwards. I think you're thinking about how you're going to get even with them. That gun is shooting. It's like James Bond's gun that shoots backwards. It's going to get you. We see that fear controls and dominates us, man. It'll keep us from doing stuff we know we should do. It keeps us from trying new things, right? It keeps us stunted. We see how people and fears have controlled and dominated us throughout our lives. What Uncle Billy did to me 30 years ago, he's long dead and I'm still thinking about that son of a bitch. He's controlling my thoughts. He's controlling my actions. We see how stupid most of the resentments and fears are. 95% disappear automatically. Other 5% we get rid of through prayer, work with our sponsor, therapy. Now here's the amazing thing. God, I used to think, well, if I get rid of this, I'm not going to be John Henry anymore. I don't know who I'm going to be. That's scary. Well, God is not going to let me have any more holes in my head. So he replaces this crap with the opposite. Where I had resentment, he gives me serenity, a little bit of peace of mind, a little bit of happiness, some compassion, a little bit of love and goodwill to my fellow man. Where I had fear, he gives me faith and courage, right? Remember that prayer. Remove my fear and show me what you would have me be. I no longer say, if those sons of bitches hadn't have done that to me, I wouldn't have to be the way I am today, an alcoholic and a drug addict. It's their damn fault. I no longer say that because I'm no longer a victim, right? We do not have a place in AA for victimhood. We are all adults, and no matter what it was that happened to us in the past, it does not have to control what we do today and who we become. Perhaps we can see that people we're afraid of and people that harmed us aren't bad people, they're sick people, just like us. If we look at this, maybe we can straighten out some relationships with people while they're still alive. Once people are dead, man, it's too late. It's too late. Now, people that have harmed us badly, that doesn't mean we're going to take them hand in hand and skip down the rose path. We're not going to do that. We don't even approve of what they've done, but I'm still going to pray for them because I want to get rid of that fear and I want to get rid of that anger that controls me. I have to get rid of it or it's going to kill me. They've done enough to me. Now I'm doing it to myself. I saw that I use sex for things other than the sex instinct. To build self-esteem, to combat loneliness, for security, for revenge. Once we see this and see what we've done, we lose the desire to do that anymore. We saw what we did to start many of these things in motion. Remember, it says we step on the toes of our fellows and they retaliate. I could never see that, man, but I did it. I did it a lot. We see our wrongs, resentment, fear, and the harms we've done. The exact nature of them are dishonesty, selfish, self-seeking, frightened, and inconsiderate. Column 4. I understood that maybe if I could be a little bit less, and I know that I'll never be anything close to perfect, but if I can be a little bit less selfish, I won't have to steal that girl's deal and then worry about getting caught and then feel bad, right? If I can be a little bit dishonest, a little bit less dishonest, a little bit less self-seeking, fearful and inconsiderate, I will not have to hurt and harm people. They won't have to retaliate, and I won't have to fear and resent them. When we do this, we are all now set to do our 5th step. We know the nature of our wrongs to talk about in step 5. We got them right there, right? I'll talk about step 5 next week, about maybe giving a little bit of a history, but it's our history of our resentments and our fears and the harms we've done. That's what it is. It's our flawed thinking. So we know what we're going to talk about in 5. We know the defects of character we're going to become ready to have God remove in 6. We're going to need God's help to get rid of this stuff. We now have the shortcomings we're going to ask God to remove in 7. And, of course, we have the list of names for 8 and 9. So if we don't do the 4th step, we cannot go forward and we're not going to get better. It's just that simple. My buddy Eric, and he will come in and talk about the 9th step. You know, he says over and over again that the AA program is not for people who need it really badly. It isn't for them. It's not for the people who want it. I want it. It's for the people who do it. If you do it, you're going to get better. If you don't, you won't. It's that simple, man. So it's for the people who do it. This is not scary. There's nothing to fear about it if you do it according to the book. And if you do it, God is going to start to give us a kindly and tolerant view of people. It's going to start to remove our fears and show us what He would have us be. Right? What we would have us be. Guilt, shame, and remorse starts to be replaced with good conscience, peace, serenity, happiness, and goodwill towards our fellow man. So, I'm going to talk about these real quick, these guidelines. So we've done all our lists, right? And again, a week from between next Tuesday, the 28th, and the following Tuesday, we meet. Schedule now with your sponsor to do the 4th step. And we're going to run with what we got. You didn't do it perfectly, tough shit. we're going to run with what we got. So make the appointment and just do it. Now, I did this and I didn't understand it, but I did it to the best of my ability the first time I went through this Code Blue. So these guidelines, they want us to write 12 summaries. And they only need to be a page long or a half a page. We don't need to go crazy. So what they want us to do is essentially, they want us to select one of our character defects, right? Says so selfish, and let's do on resentment. So Eric would have selected selfish, resentment against his wife for cheating on him, and they want us to run it backwards, right? So when you have select a selfish thing on your resentment list, when you see all of these things are checked, if they're all checked, yeah, write a little summary about that one, right? Because that's a good one. So we do 3 selfish ones. We do one selfish about resentments, one where selfish was the main character defect on a fear that made us fear something, and one where selfishness made us harm somebody. So for me, I might have done a selfish harms. I would be talking about how I would steal other people's commissions, therefore their money. Didn't belong to me. I stole their money. So I opened their wallet and took it out and gave it to myself. So that would have been my selfishness on the harms I did. So what we do is we label the top of the paper with the defective character. So we're going to go selfish, right? Then we label resentment, fear, or harm. So again, you just grab your lists. When you see a bunch of check marks, we're going to run with that one. We give the description of the cause from column 2. Column 2 is the cause. You know, why I was selfish, right? And the cause of the selfishness, right? And then we're just going to write a paper. So I'm going to read 3 of them real quick. These aren't the best in the world. The last one is really good, but you'll get the idea. So this first one, the first summary, and it doesn't even have to be this long. I mean, mine were like a handwritten page. Maybe one with my father was 2 pages. I am resentful at the city. So this is selfish resentment. I am resentful at the city of Minneapolis, Bill B. and Dave A. The cause of the resentment is that I had to fight to get a promotion I felt I was clearly deserving of because of my seniority and qualifications. So he was resentment, but he was afraid he wasn't going to get something he thought he deserved. That led to his resentment. It didn't matter who I harmed along the way. He knew he deserved it, so he's going to step on some damn toes to get it. What did seem to matter to me was money, less work, more power, and me getting my way. I want that money, and I deserve it, damn it. And I'm pissed off they're not getting it to me, and here's what I'm going to do to get it. Because of, and my sponsor had me write extreme, so because of my extreme selfishness, my self-esteem was affected because I wasn't willing to understand why they had a problem seeing that I was best for the job. So he had checked his self-esteem box, and it was negatively affected because he didn't get it. Because of my selfishness, my personal relationships were affected because I felt forced to step on some toes to get what I wanted. Because of my selfishness, my material security was affected because I thought I may have advanced faster or further had these things happened sooner or on my terms. Because of my selfishness, my emotions are affected because of the bad feelings I have for these people. So he's pissed off at everybody. Because of my selfishness, my social ambitions may have been harmed because I can't or don't trust myself in any social events where I know they will be for fear of what I may say or do. He could not control his emotional nature. Talks about that in the book. So he wants this money so badly, and he's afraid he's not going to get it. It's affecting all of these things, and he's stepping on people's toes. Because of my selfishness, my future security was affected due to the loss of money, which I felt may hamper my ambitions. My retirement fund and my wages are mainly what I thought may have been affected. No matter what their part in this was, I took selfishness to an extreme. It was an obsession that helped create the resentment and emotions. Had I been less selfish, I may have been able to handle the situation differently with the same or better results. I would have been able to let go and move on. So, I mean, same thing for me, man. Once I got a little taste of a deal, my selfishness told me I had to have it, I deserved it, and I was afraid I wasn't going to get it. And I would do crazy things to make sure I did, right? Next one is a little one. I like this one too. I am fearful of bankruptcy. This is a selfish fear. So she picked one where the main character defect was selfishness, and it was from her fear column. I am fearful of bankruptcy. The cause of this fear is my staying home with the girls and my husband not making enough money. The old hubby isn't making enough. Because of my selfishness, my self-esteem is affected because I think I can't do and buy things I'd like to for my family. I feel less than. So her husband doesn't make as much money as her friends, so her self-esteem, money is negative self-esteem. Because of my selfishness, my personal relationships are affected because all I talk about is my lack of money. So therefore, I feel unable to do a lot with my friends. So who wants, hey, let's go out for lunch, and all this woman does is talk about how her husband doesn't bring enough money, so she can't do anything, poor me, right? Because of my selfishness, my material security is affected because all I look at is what I think I can't do or have because of no money. Because of my selfishness, my security ambition is affected because I don't feel financially stable. So she's stressing the hell out. This fear is killing her. Because of my selfishness, no matter how much money my husband made, it wouldn't be enough. I wanted more. I lost sight of faith in God that He would provide what was needed. So, I got to go back. I talked last week about Eric, man. Broken, homeless, and he's doing fine because he knows he's going to be taken care of. If he had to come and live with me full time, he would. So, that's a fear that if I was in his situation, I would have, but he doesn't have it. This last one I like. This is selfish harms. Okay, so again, she went to her harms list. She harmed her old boyfriend, and she harmed him because her selfishness was extreme. I harmed an old boyfriend, Rob. I feel that I harmed him because I stayed in the relationship for a year after I lost interest in him. That's crazy. You're staying in a relationship for a year when you're not interested? Really? I had put a lot of money I had earned into the relationship. Oh, she invested money. He kept assuring me that it wouldn't be long before he could pay me back and give me more than I could have on my own. I felt justified in staying with him, waiting for what I felt I had coming. My plan was to leave once I got paid back. So, hey, man, I paid for the cable, the electrical, the rent, the vacation. You were, I've added it up over the years. It's several $1,000s. I want to get paid back. So she wants to leave, and as soon as she gets the money back from him, she's going to say, sayonara, sucker. Because of my selfishness, my self-esteem was affected because I felt I was better than Rob. I felt I had put more into the relationship than he had. I felt I was too good for him. Because of my selfishness, my personal relationships were affected because I gossiped to my friends and family about what a loser he was, right? Yeah, again, you're going over for family dinner. My boyfriend is such a loser. That son of a bitch owes me money. I can't stand the guy. I want to get out of this relationship as soon as I can. Well, honey, why don't you leave? Because he owes me money, right? Oh, my God. They, in turn, tried to talk me into leaving, which I had no intention of doing until I was paid back. This caused tension, my relationships with my family. Because of my selfishness, my material security instinct was threatened because I thought if I left, when emotionally the relationship was over, I wouldn't get my money and I'd start over with nothing. Because of my selfishness, my emotional security instinct was threatened because I was depending on him to pay me back. I wasn't working toward any arrangements for him to pay me back. I thought I needed to keep him emotionally locked into the relationship in order to get my money. We took turns emotionally dominating the relationship. Because of my selfishness, my acceptable sex relations were affected. Because I had trouble having any sex relations with him once my feelings for him had changed. She wants out, man. Because of my selfishness, my hidden sex relations were affected because once my feelings for him had changed, I began to find that I was interested in other men. I flirted with them and led them on. I wanted to know that once I was single again, I could find men who would be interested in me. Because of my selfishness, my security ambitions were affected because I wanted to make sure I got the money I needed to get an apartment and other things. I wanted to get started in my life without him. Because of my selfishness, my sexual ambitions were affected because I had to put them on hold until I got my money. I had no sexual ambitions with Rob. I took selfishness to an extreme. Rob's part could have changed if I hadn't been selfish. I didn't have to give him the money in the first place. My selfishness got in the way because I believed I would get more later if I paid then. Had I been less selfish, I would have kept the financial situation separate from the emotional situation. Instead, I used his feelings for me and was dishonest about my feelings for him to ensure payment. So she's sticking around for a year in a relationship she wants out of to get the money back. She might have been able to meet the love of her life, right? All of her friends, nobody wants to go out to dinner with her, man. Debbie Downer, right? So just, they want you to write, just do 12 of them if you can, even if you do a half a page. just, you know, so that my sponsor kind of read a few of them over and said, yeah, you get it. And then we kind of talked about everything. So, does anybody have any other questions about this? I mean, we just keep working on it. I mean, I got to tell you guys, I sat down just for a minute, just for 1 minute, you know, and I wrote out, you know, I wrote out a few things. Let's see here, you know, I'm resentful at, right? My new boss, right? Because I think I should be running the store, right? Or he might change things. I'm resentful at my brother, right? He's rich, I'm not. I'm resentful at some of my sponsees because they're not doing what I want them to do. I'm resentful at the IRS because they're taking too much money. I'm resentful at Trump because he's killing the world and creating fear. I'm resentful at customers who don't buy from me because I wasted my time with them. I'm resentful at other salespeople because they don't take care of their crap and it costs me time. I'm resentful at this guy running a big company because he's not buying all his tile from me. I'm resentful at a sales gal there because she's getting some of my deals. I'm resentful at Sherry because she leaves loose ends that I got to fix up. I mean, I just wrote this out in a few minutes, you know. Some of my fears, right? New boss, he might change things, right? My brother, he married a millionaire and he started to distribute some money at the end of each year. You know, and all of a sudden I'm afraid that maybe I won't get the money from him, right? I'm afraid of getting old. Maybe I won't be able to make a living. I'm afraid of being alone, nobody to care for me if I get sick. Afraid of losing the job, right? If I lose my job, then I'm going to lose all the stuff that I need, right? My house, my car, all of this stuff that I need, right? You know, harms. I wrote out a few harms too. A big one for me is, and I do it all the time. I harm customers, right? Because of my damn selfishness to this day. I don't want to spend a lot of time with somebody that's not going to make me money, right? So I harm customers. I've got people that I make fun of. I berate them, maybe to make myself, whenever I do it, I say, what are you doing, John? I'm harming new salespeople because I'm not spending enough time with them to train them, right? So I mean, I did that in 2 minutes, so we can get this done quickly. So, anybody got any other questions? Anything else? All right, man. Let's end with the third step prayer.
Meet with our sponsor for step 4 in between this week and next week.
What? No. From Tuesday the 28th to the following, meet in there to give your fifth step and run with what you got.
Homework. You got to get this.
Just get her done, man. God, I offer myself to Thee to build with me and to do with me as Thou wilt. Relieve me of the bondage of self, that I may better do Thy will. Take away my difficulties, that victory over them may bear witness to those I will help of Thy power, Thy love, and Thy way of life. May I do Thy will always. Peace.